start off talking about coronavirus then. We've got Herb Flight Time laying on. We were actually from the same alma mater, Centenary College of Louisiana. Been playing with the Globetrotters for a while, man. Let's start there, and I want to kind of transition from that into current events because it's a huge topic. But I want to kind of start with, how did you get into the Globetrotters? Where was that a dream that you aspired to? Did you go play pro ball somewhere and you kind of found it? How did that happen?
Up in a small town, Arkansas, Brinkley, Arkansas, of course. And when I got to Centenary College, it was the smallest Division I school in the country, and I just had, of course, the regular dreams and aspirations to play professional sports. And luckily for me, I had a decent career at Centenary. Ended up winning the college dunk contest in 1998. But during that year in '98, there was a lockout, and for me, I didn't have the opportunity to go to a lot of the camps that traditionally would be open. So I ended up going back to school and finishing my degree, which was a great move. But during that time, I was roommates with a guy named Alan Sahatra. He was a soccer player at Centenary during this time. And while I was working at the gym after completing my schooling, he actually went to a game and came back home that night with a program saying that he went to the Globetrotter game and he thinks that I could do what they do, or I could learn to do the things that they did. And long story short, I ended up sending a sending a video into the number. They called, invited me to training camp, remembered me from winning the dunk contest, and ended up playing for 18 years, man. Traveled the world. President Obama, I met him twice while he was serving in the White House. Had a chance to spin the ball on Pope Francis's finger back in 2015
Wow.
at the Vatican. I mean, not many people can say that they had an opportunity to do that, so I know that I'm blessed.
That's incredible. Wow, man. How'd you find Centenary?
They found me. I mean, a lot of times when I talk to people, I always talk about the importance of connection.
Yeah.
Because for me, everything major that happened in my life happened as a result of somebody taking a stand for me or stepping up for me. So in Arkansas, I was a pretty good, high school player. I was All-State. I played in the Arkansas High School All-State All-Star game as well. But I wasn't heavily recruited at all coming out of high school. But there was a guy from my hometown who left my hometown in 10th grade and went to Little Rock to play, a bigger city an hour away from my hometown of Brinkley. And he ended up getting a scholarship to Centenary. And he actually hurt himself his first year, which led him to have to sit out his entire second season. During that second season, sitting out was my senior year of high school. And he ended up coming back home and seeing a couple games, and he said that he was going to tell him about me. I didn't believe it, but he did tell him about me, and Centenary actually offered me a scholarship without ever seeing me play a basketball game. That's pretty cool coming from a Division I school. So again, the Globetrotters came from my friend Allen, and Centenary, my college Division I scholarship, came from someone else speaking up for me.
That's incredible. So people that don't know,
word of mouth.
Right, man. I'd never heard of Centenary growing up in Oregon. It was a weird transition. Like my junior year, I think is when I transferred out there. There was two schools in the country that were reclassifying that you could transfer in and transfer out. And Centenary was one of those because they were going D3. I think it was 2 years after I was there. So that's how I ended up finding it. But for people that haven't heard of Centenary, like, it's the home of Robert Parrish. Do you know? Herb Flight Time Lang.
Okay.
It was a really cool experience, especially in Shreveport. Me coming from the Northwest, I never had an opportunity to ever play or visit the South. And so Louisiana I didn't even go visit the school. I just showed up. I signed and showed up. Incredible opportunity.
Said that they didn't even have to bring me in for a visit. I was coming anyway. It was an opportunity to play Division I basketball. Right. And like you were saying, I mean, guys like Robert Parrish were the guys that people knew. Hal Sutton, played back then. But also, during my time, a lot of people don't know that B.J. Ryan started at Centenary before he transferred. Okay. B.J. Ryan, who pitched for the Toronto Blue Jays, the big left-hander. Yeah, he was a Centenary before he transferred and eventually made it to the big league. Did you know that?
I didn't, man. I didn't know that. That's wild.
From Bossier City, Louisiana. And then there was actually a kid that was on the Astros pitching staff that won the World Series back in, a couple of years ago. We don't have to talk about that, but yeah, there was another alumni there. But yeah, B.J. Ryan, look that up. I can't believe you
didn't
know that.
I haven't heard that one. No, buddy that was on my team there when I was there, Seth Lugo. He's listed as one of the top 10 closers right now in the league. He plays for the Mets. So he was, yeah,
That guy too. He wasn't there with me, but yeah, I know about him as well. So
yeah,
those are the new names
right.
that are coming.
Yeah, man. Centenary College of
Bad names.
Louisiana. Yeah. Yeah, I never
Smallest Division One
graduated.
country.
I never
Oh, you
graduated, so
didn't?
I've never been asked to come back for an alumni weekend or anything. So yeah, I did 1 year and done.
Yeah, I'll start forwarding you some of the emails that
There
I
you
get.
go. That's awesome. But yeah, man. So the Harlem Globetrotters, like I watched the Globetrotters when they came through. I'm in Klamath Falls where I grew up right now. I'm at my parents' house, so that's the new background. This is the makeshift studio for today's call. But Klamath Falls, they off the beaten path place, and it was really cool because we were like, I want to say I was 9 or 10 when the Globetrotters came through here, and for a kid at that age, like I thought that they were the best players in the world. The Globetrotters had cartoons, they had like all this stuff, and for me, it was like this experience getting to see and interact with these guys who, for kids that age, were some of the most famous and recognizable people and colors and logos in the world. What was it like for you being able to have grown up around that, seeing the Globetrotters and stuff growing up, and then find yourself putting on that jersey one day?
I was really my first love was football. I loved football, but I played all sports growing up. Between my junior and senior year of basketball, high school, I ended up growing from 5'7" to what I am now, about 6'2", 6'3". And at that point, I decided I would stick with basketball. But growing up, my grandmother, she was a big Globetrotter fan. So anytime the Globetrotters came on ABC, Disney Wide World of Sports, we would always gather around the TV and just be excited to see what the Globetrotters were doing, where they were playing. You would have Howard Cosell in
Mm-hmm.
the background doing the play-by-play, and you'd have an opportunity to see guys like Meadowlark Lemon, Marcus Haynes, the legendary guys. But to me, becoming a Globetrotter was more than a dream come true. I never imagined. Of course, I
Right.
dreamed to play in the NBA, but initially when Alan, my friend, came to me about, I could be a Globetrotter, I told him to get that, program with that number out of my face because I knew the things that they did, and I couldn't imagine myself even learning them because I had only learned, the fundamentals of basketball the first
Mm-hmm.
21 years of my life. But I mean, eventually, once I'd say after my first year in the team, I really began to realize what it was all about, what the organization was all about, its impact that it's had on the world, and the impact that it continues to have on the world. And to be a part of something like that, regardless of not making millions of dollars, it's just the people that I've met along the way, the connections that I've made. I wouldn't change those for anything in the world. The experiences I've had, as I mentioned, meeting the Pope, meeting the president, doing reality shows like The Amazing Race. I could
That's
not have
right.
imagined doing these things if even as an NBA player. I
Yeah.
mean, there was a lot of NBA players that hadn't met the Pope, hadn't met, president, hadn't traveled around the world 3 times competing on the Amazing Race. So I feel blessed and lucky. So one of the things I want to do is, just go back and inspire and talk to young people and adults about my experience, and hopefully, from my experiences, especially the good ones and even the bad ones, they can take something from them that will direct them in the right direction.
You brought up a good point about kind of that having to learn a new style of play, right? So, like you grew up playing football and whatnot, you said, but eventually you became a basketball player and you learned the game, the way that the game is supposed to be played. And for you to transition then from something that you've spent so many hours, so many days, blood, sweat, and tears learning how to play, the routines, all that sort of stuff. How did you make that transition into playing the Globetrotter style of basketball? How did you make that transition into not only that, but picking up these different skills that are so different from what you were used to for so long?
It's simple. I mean, me being the oldest of a total of 5 sisters and 3 brothers, and my mom raising 3 girls and 3 boys on her own, I knew what it was all about when it came down to hard work. I grew up working on a fish farm. I grew up working in a funeral home. I had my first job at 12 years old washing dishes. I worked at Walmart on the construction crew. So I know what it's like to actually work hard. And then after graduating college and having played the games I love so much, having to go and get a real job for about 8 months. Once I got to the Globetrotters, it was easy, because I'm realizing that I'm actually now in a situation where I get paid to do something I enjoy. Those other things I didn't necessarily enjoy. So as hard as I worked at those jobs, I'm definitely going to work extra hard at this opportunity to become a Globetrotter. And the more I was around it, and the more I was around the guys, the more I fell in love with it. The more I learned to begin to carry myself and pattern myself and learn routines off of things that other guys did. Just continued to grow. And I mean, if I could turn things around and rewind it, I would not change one thing, because I truly felt like I had the best job in the world. And right now, I continue to build off of those experiences and creating, what's in store for me right now, and the things I'm creating with motivational speaking and being an author.
Well, what's a memory or something about your experience with the Globetrotters that most people wouldn't ever guess or think of that goes on or happened or something along those lines?
That a lot of people probably don't realize that when we're on tour, I mean, sometimes there's 9 games a week, and there's only 7 days in a week.
Wow.
We've actually done 10 in a week sometimes. So when people come out to the games and, see us running up and down the court, they don't realize that it's possibly that those guys or myself, when I played, hadn't had a day off in, 2 weeks, so a lot of people don't know that. And we understand that, because that's not their problem. It's not our problem either, because we signed up for it and we enjoy what we do. But they don't realize that there's a lot of, after that game that they attended, there's possibility, if that was an early game, we're driving down from LA to Anaheim, for example, to play a doubleheader that day. So there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, a lot of dedication put in by the players, as well as the people who put it together. But as Globetrotters, we have always, accepted the responsibility of being role models and being professionals. So regardless of how little sleep we've had, or how much we travel on the bus, we always know it's important to go out there and make sure that we give those families, those kids, memories that they, the adults may have remembered when they were kids. So those kids, they'll have new memories as well. So that's what it's all about, man. It's everybody's not made to do it, but I know that I was one of the people that were made to do it, and there was a lot of us that were and did it well. And guys that are out there now continue to do the same thing.
So if you guys are playing 9 games a week at times, when do you guys practice? Do you guys practice as a team? Do you guys practice individually? How's that work?
It depends. Like during the week, I mean, once the tour starts and you're playing every day, there's not a whole lot of practice that's needed, because you're already developing that chemistry and camaraderie that you need. I mean, if you went out and practice every day, playing 9 days in a row would be impossible. So some of those days are actually you come to the gym, get a few shots up on your own, take care of all the backstage stuff, and you go out and deliver the best product you can for that particular show.
Cool. So as a Harlem Globetrotter, you got to travel the world, you got to entertain, you got to fulfill a dream you didn't even know you had, and then you got onto the Amazing Race. I want to know about that experience, because if there is any reality show that I would want to be on, it'd 100% be the Amazing Race. You get to travel the world, you get to compete, you get to actually race. Like, that's something that sounds like an insane experience. What was your process of getting that gig? First of all, did you sign up for it? Did they reach out to you? How did you pick a partner? And then what was that experience like, actually getting to experience it?
When this reality, Amazing Race, Survivor thing all exploded, the first show I followed was Survivor, and I really off of that show, and then I fell in love with the Amazing Race. I think that was around 2000, 2001. So in 2007, when new ownership came in, they decided they wanted to create new stars with the Globetrotters, and this was my 8th year. And then you had guys like myself, Nate Big Easy Lawson, Kevin Special K Daly, and Shane Scooter Christensen, who were also other guys that they wanted to promote at that time. So the Globetrotters ended up hiring a PR firm out of LA, which began to pitch us and see what we were interested in television as far as Hollywood goes. And one of the shows, of course, that stood out to me was The Amazing Race, with me being a fan of it. And the connection that Big Easy and I both had is that our coach, Billy Kennedy, coached both of us. He coached me at Centenary as his first
Oh wow.
NCAA Division One job before he eventually went to Southeast Louisiana, Murray State, and Texas A&M. And he coached Big Easy at Southeastern, the place he went to after Centenary. So once Big Easy joined the Globetrotters coming, coach reached out to me and asked me to look out for him. And once Big Easy stepped onto the bus, we were friends, immediately. And that was our connection. And we had great camaraderie with each other. We were actually friends on and off the court. And, the production people, they realized that. And that was one of the driving forces, for us to have an opportunity to do the show, not once, not twice, but lose 3 times. But I mean, it was just great to be able to do something like that on such a large stage, to be able to represent your family, to be able to represent the organization, your teammates at a high level and on such a stage. I mean, it was something that we're lucky to have been blessed to do.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. This is kind of a good spot to kind of transition to current events, get to learn a bit about what you're doing right now, being able to handle that, flights, travel, all that stuff. Like the Amazing Race is not happening right now as much as it normally would be. What are some struggles that you're facing right now with coronavirus going on that maybe you're starting to realize you didn't know that you weren't as prepared for a situation like this coming up? What are some things that are coming to light?
Honest with you, I don't really feel like I'm struggling right now.
Awesome.
If I'm being completely honest, I'm more on the positive side, seeing the bright side, stepping back and seeing what's possible on the other side. But to answer that question a little bit more in depth, yeah, I did have plans to have a basketball clinic on April 25th here in Sacramento in the park to launch my brand Swag Ball, to get it officially trademarked, which is probably for certainly going to be pushed back. I had a basketball clinic also set up for May 30th, in which day I was going to be inducted into my hometown Hall of Fame along with 9 other gentlemen, which of course is being pushed back. But for me, it's okay. That's I choose to be okay with sitting down, that government's telling me to do, and not move around and just create while I'm at home, connect while I'm at home, create some amazing things right here over this next month, 2 months, or however long it's going to take us to get back to normal. And then once I come out on the other side, I'm coming out swinging. I'll be prepared. I'll know more about, virtual meetings and Skypes and Zooms. Right. I'll be very connected with my son, because we're playing Xbox and we're playing basketball. He's 14, so he's learning how to play the game through basketball on Xbox with me. My daughter and I, we're connecting through TikTok videos. So I'm just using this time to connect, but also be positive and realize there's nothing I could do except do what I'm told. Complaining doesn't make me feel any better. Watching the news 24/7, seeing all the deaths and counting the numbers, that's not making me do any better. So I choose to try to have fun, connect with my family, my friends, get on some of these Zoom calls that are actually positive and actually talking about what's being created on the other side and what can happen now, as opposed to focusing on all of the stuff that can stress me out and bring my blood pressure up. So I just challenge everybody to, kind of do that. I mean, even before this happened, I'm a pretty positive person. I just challenge my siblings. I say, I watch you on Facebook and social media. I see the things that you post, and it's not always negative, but it's not always positive.
Right.
And so one of the things I said, how would we do 2 for 1? Okay, you post 2 positive things, and then you get that one thing that you maybe want to post that may cause a little bit of controversy. Imagine if we all did that, 2 to 1. There would be a lot more positive news out there than it is negative news. And then positive news makes everybody feel better. The only thing the negative news does is brings people's stress levels up, causes anxiety, which is also not good for what's happening right now. So I just encourage people to try to be strong, try to be positive. I know that's probably difficult for those who are actually, having loved ones who are, suffering from this awful pandemic. But for those who are not and have, older people or kids, just try to comfort them, try to do things to not make them forget about it, but, take their minds in another direction and seeing what's possible when this is over with, the vacations that we'll be able to go on and all the exciting things that we'll be able to that we didn't get to do while we were connecting, which was also fun.
Right. You bring up such a good point too, because it's a scenario that it really sucks, right? That's the truth. Like, this is a bad situation that people wouldn't want to be in. But on the flip side of it, that it is also a situation that could bring a lot of amazing opportunities to people. For myself, it's brought this amazing opportunity of forcing myself to be able to step back and look at things in a way without everything going so fast that I got to keep keeping up with my business, keeping up with my next goals, my next steps, all these other pieces that did have to get put on pause. I did have an event in March that got canceled. You know, I had 6 or 7 different campaign launches that were supposed to happen between March and April and mid-April. All that stuff just put things on pause. Money that was already spent on marketing campaigns, all that stuff, you know, put things on pause. But it put myself in this mindset of, well, shoot, if this lasts a few months longer and I'm still not seeing a return on this money, then what's my plan? Because I didn't have a plan before if things went awry, you know. And it really made me start to realize that, gosh, this thing that I thought was really cool, that I thought maybe would be like a passion of mine if I pursued, which is film, you know, and telling stories in that way. Like back then it was that maybe, but now it's like all of a sudden I'm like, well, shoot, my company right now, there's a possibility that if this goes so long that it might not exist at the end of it. So on the flip side of it, it's like, gosh, but I'm not that upset because it's given me so much time right now to focus on this thing that was my dream, that was my goal, this thing that I thought was so cool to create. I just didn't think I had enough experience to do it. And it's put myself in this position where now I don't have an excuse to give myself anymore of why not to do it. And it's almost like this everything happens for a reason thing, right? But in this scenario, it's like sports are on hold. Like my pastor on Sunday read this email that he got from a former basketball player, this friend of his, that she sent him, and she's saying that like if you're going to worship athletes, then God's going to close the stadiums down. If you're going to worship musicians, He's going to put the civic centers down. If you're going to worship all these other people that people do put on a pedestal, right? That we do now realize we're such a massive consumption of our lives. Like for sports fans, how weird is it right now that we're not watching sports, like live sports? Like it throws my routine off right now, you know? So I'm used to keeping up with that stuff. And it's crazy.
And then every now and then you'll look up and see something like a game on television and think that it's live and realize that it's definitely pre-recorded.
Yeah.
Like how many people have done that?
Right.
The past, couple of weeks it's been taken away.
Yeah, man. I found myself watching cricket the other day because it said live up there, and then finally it popped up a replay. I was like, gosh, dang it. Like I wanted to watch it because it was live. I didn't realize that.
Follow back on what you said too. I mean, one of the things I said early on in this, I was at the Sacramento Kings New Orleans Pelicans game that was canceled. I was sitting in my seat. I had just bought my, $20 plate of food with my, my beer, and I sit down for about 10 minutes, and it's 7:30, and they're not really coming out to find out. Of course, it was to be canceled, and I'm the kind of person, I'm very observant. I just sat there and I was cool, but I could just see the panic of the people around me. Oh, yeah. The name calling, the angry people, and it really, for me, it breaks my heart for people when they're selfish like that. Mm-hmm. In a sense of, I knew that when they canceled that game, this is a real deal thing. When they said Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, and then I was watching the Mavericks game on that night too, as I was getting ready to go down, Golden One. I was actually waiting to the last minute to go, and I actually went, and the game got canceled. But it was just, I wonder what those people are thinking now that were in that arena, that were yelling, upset. I mean, good thing they should. Sometimes we have to get focused out and not always think that it's about us. Mm-hmm. Because every person that was upset in that place on that particular night, it was about them. I saw people lined up outside the ticket window wanting their money back, demand, it's going to take care of itself. Go home, figure this thing out, not be selfish, focus out, think about other people. Because one of the things I also talk about is for those who are not adhering to the rules, who are going out, imagine the guilt that you have to live with if you actually went out there and brought that back home to someone that you care about and something bad happened. Yep. Like that, you have to focus out. It's not about you, it's about everyone else. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing that I think that everyone should focus on during this time. Try to remain calm, positive, follow the guidelines. Right. take this break now and live longer and live later.
Yeah.
Don't put people at risk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a time for people to be able to sit back and recharge, right? In a way, it's not a
There,
time.
there's Kyle, there's people like you said, you know about your dream of your career. There's
Hmm.
people that have been for the last 5, 10 years or longer working jobs that they absolutely
Yes.
like. And this time off gives them an opportunity to further investigate those people that they idolize, people that they've been following. Gives them time to figure out what they did to get to where they are. It also gives you time to figure out who's making money right now. You know, what if the economy shuts down again? What areas of the world that are, you know, actually successful financially, so to speak? Maybe that's something that we can look into. And I'm in conversation with people who are talking about that as well. But those are things to look at. What
Hmm.
people are also going to realize that being at home a little bit, I think I may be able to make this work. So I think there's going to be probably fewer people that are, you know, excited to actually go back to that regular 9 to 5 after getting this chance to see that they could possibly make it work at home. So the world is changing. You know, it's going to be a different world. I think it's going to be great. I think the world is closer than ever right now, which is
Yeah.
something that I love with all the traveling that I've done. You know, 90 countries as a Globetrotter. I have so many friends around the world, and I just feel so connected with everyone right now, which is a pretty special feeling.
Man, it's crazy. I'm hearing from friends that I haven't heard from in years. It's cool. It's crazy
And,
how it's
and
crazy
you're
how being
connecting with them.
exactly connecting by being disconnected. You know, and I think it's making people realize the importance of being in person too. But yeah, we're experiencing a little delay here. Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just saying that we're experiencing a little delay. I'm catching yours like right at the end.
You to finish talking right there. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a great connection. Again, like I said, I mean, people just get a chance to, you know, to reset and just imagine the beautiful things that are on the outside, on
Hmm.
the other side of this. You know, the things that we're gonna get to learn from this. I mean, I have a friend of mine whose daughter was, you know, pretty upset. You know, not upset, but a little bit discouraged that her birthday was not going to be able to be celebrated the way that she had imagined. You know, 20
Hmm.
years old, almost 21, and one of the things that I mentioned, I said, well, you know, I'm 43, almost 44 now, and I don't know how many birthdays I actually remember. I mean, I remember on Amazing Race we won first place one day. I remember going to see John Legend once on my birthday,
Hmm.
but other than that, there's not a lot of birthdays that I remember per se. And for those who are having birthdays during this time, this will be the most memorable birthday of their life, probably for whatever reason
That's
that
true.
they decide to make them. Or you can make it for good, or
Hmm.
I remember exactly what I was doing for my 20th birthday. I was, you know, spending time with my loved ones and my family. I was learning more about this new career that I was interested
Yep.
in. Or you can look at it as, I was stuck in the house and it was terrible, it was horrible, but I'm still alive.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, I've seen cool things like Ivy League
that's
opening up free classes to people and stuff like that. There's a lot of really cool opportunity to be able to take from what's going on. I want to shift gears, and you just made the transition from the Globetrotters, from being a pro athlete for 18 years into the business world. Um, what are you up to right now, and what are your goals for these next 12 months with your current focus, with your current dream?
working on right now since I left the Globetrotters is just building on all the knowledge and information I accumulated over that 18 years of traveling the world. I have a television game show that I have a deal with the production company of Bertram Van Munster of the Amazing Race. We're working on potentially getting a game show that I created
Awesome.
onto network television. That's one thing, using that creative side, being on all these television shows. I've seen so many behind the scenes things that I wanted to, you know, put on paper for myself.
Hmm.
And luckily they believed in at least one of my ideas so far. And I got that deal. But I'm also motivational speaking at any type of event, elementary schools, high schools. I just recently had the chance to go back to my hometown and speak at the annual Chamber of Commerce banquet, which was amazing to see my third fourth grade teacher there, my National Honor Society teacher, people I hadn't seen in 20, 30 years to come and show me love and support. But I'm up to that. I'm up to working on this virtual thing, trying to learn more about the virtual summits, looking at maybe building another home here pretty soon. That's going to be pretty exciting as far as what I want to create moving forward. But just a lot of stuff. But mostly just trying to transform lives, just trying to make people feel good, make people feel happy. One of my mottos is kindness is free. It doesn't cost you a dime to give people love, to be kind, especially during this time. I mean, kindness, nice messages are going to take people a lot further than any type of negativity right now. So my main mission right now is just motivating people, keeping people inspired, and just being excited about what's on the other side and continue to create. I get to continue to create during this time.
Right, man. I've noticed a consistency with you, and it's cool because I relate a lot with this, and I tell people this a lot because this is really how I've been able to build relationships and network and have create opportunities for myself down the road. And it sounds like you've really utilized your time through the Globetrotters, through your experiences like the Amazing Race, to create real relationships, and not only create those relationships, but maintain and keep up those relationships. And those relationships have allowed you to be able to open up more doors down the road by being a good person, by staying in touch, by not being afraid you're humbling yourself and being able to reach out to people. And like even how we connected, we both stayed in touch, and that's a big thing that like is so important, because I hear it so many times from people that they say, I met this guy, but yeah, I never heard from him again. It's like, it's not, don't look at it as their responsibility to keep in touch. Look at it as your responsibility to maintain that relationship and cultivate it, right? How much do you owe to those two keeping and building those relationships?
That's one of the things that I talk about when I speak. When I speak to large groups, I talk about all those phases in my life where people stood up for me, and because of genuine care.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've gotten older, even into my early 20s, I've always remained connected with people, especially people who are have helped me. Not just people who've helped me, but just genuine concern for people. One of my things is I love to know that people are happy, know people are feeling good. I would leave. I used to get in trouble for leaving so many free tickets to the Globetrotter games for just random people because I wanted to see them happy. So it's something that that comes natural for me, but people need to naturally learn how to treat people good, because you never know who that random person is. That random person is who you think can help you.
Yeah.
But do it for the fact of just being a nice person, as opposed to just doing it for what you think that they can do for them. But that's just what it's all about, man. Just giving. Right. Kindness is free. Just be patient and kind, and good thing is going to happen for you.
Absolutely. This is Griffey. Just trying to calm him down a little bit here. No, that's good.
I locked my little fella out of the room.
Did you? Yeah, this guy, he's 18 months now. You leave him alone, there's gonna be a destroyed everything when you get back to it.
Yeah, my little pug Hurley, he just turned 2.
Oh man, that's awesome. Hurley, okay, I like that. You're wearing a Hurley hat right now.
I am. I'm representing Hurley, the dog and the hat.
That's awesome.
Company.
So when you're speaking, what is your main message when you go speak at schools?
It typically usually goes along the line of things in my book. So it depends on if I'm in elementary school, grades kindergarten through 4th grade. I'll talk about topics that happened to me, around the time that I was in 3rd or 4th grade. Like, for example, when I was in 4th grade, I realized that I wanted to be in gifted and talented programs like some of my other friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll start right there, and I'll talk about how I struggled and I didn't make the best grades, and I was transitioning, between households because my mom was basically abused. But I also knew at the same time that I wanted to be in those special classes. I wanted to be different because I wanted, better for myself and for my family. So I worked hard. And then I began to tell how this process happened. My coach, who was the number one influence in my life in 7th grade, we met. 9th grade, just switching my mindset to make good grades. And I just go on and I tell them about all the connections that I had along the way and how people stood up for me. So, I mean, that's just it. I just talk about connection, motivation. I talk about the stumbles, the pitfalls I've had along the way to warn them, and that, they don't face some of those same hardships because they've already been pre-warned about them.
Right.
So it's just motivational, inspirational. With kids, I like to have fun. I'll bring a basketball up and do a couple tricks, maybe bring some adults up, but it just depends. It depends on the audience. I mean, I've been able to transition to any audience. It just depends on what you need, what area that a particular group may need encouragement in, and I'll put something together, for that.
That's incredible. When focusing on your own life, you're educating and being able to share these stories and stuff with other people and building their lives to reach kind of what their next level of success is. And if you look at your personal life, right, it doesn't have to be a business goal. It doesn't really have to be anything. Just when you think of it, what is your kind of next level that you're trying to get up to? It could be personal, it could be business, it could be family, it could be anything. But if you think about that next level of success that you would want to reach, that would make you feel like, okay, I have reached a new level. This is success. This is what I've been working towards. What would that be to you?
So growing up as a kid and a professional athlete, having played for 18 years with the Globetrotters, I talked about how my success as a kid was based on how much money I could make if I could become a professional athlete, and I had a chance to do that. I didn't make all the money in the world. I made a great living, traveled the world for 18 years, best job in the world, won a lot of trophies, dunk contests, and I have a lot of trophies from that. But what's important to me in the way my success is judged me personally is how many lives I touched along the way. And so I know that I'm touching lives right now, maybe not on a daily basis from where I'm at, but I know that I have touched lives. And so I feel like I'm living in my success right now, and this is the start, and it can only get bigger with the more lives that I can, transform, and the more people I can help along the way. But one of the things I realized too is that over this past 3 years since I've, not been globetrotting, and I've been able to, to focus out and shift my thoughts and some of my goals and what success is. Once I started to include other people in my thoughts, which I have, because everything I'm trying to create with the sports game show, with a possible new home, it's not just for me. It's for other people, to bring them in and help other people get to where I am at peace, with life, and how I appreciate people and the things, the little things that surround us, and don't take them for granted. So one of my dreams is to have a place to bring people in to transform lives. So that would be my next level of success right now, along with a few of the other things that I mentioned, but more so about just transforming lives and making the world a better place.
That's incredible, man. I love that. I love that. What's your book about? Could you tell people what your book's about, where to get it, why they should get it?
My book is called Project Popes and Presidents. I wrote it a couple months after my Globetrotter career ended, and the basis of my book is just to motivate and inspire youth as well as older people, as I mentioned earlier, because there's things that happen in my life that I know will help a lot of young people. There's shifts that happened in my adult life that I know will help adults like myself in transitioning. I mean, after 18 years of doing the same job, it came to an end abruptly. So I had to figure out a way to deal with that. And one of the ways I dealt with that was actually sitting down, writing my book, being vulnerable, and sharing my story with the world. And so I talked about my transition growing up in Brinkley, Arkansas, domestic abuse, to going to college on a scholarship, becoming class president, having two kids with two different mothers, how that process worked. Just life lessons along the way. And at the end of it, I'm still humble, I'm still kind, and I'm still excited to help people. And I have nothing bad to say about anyone.
I love that. I want to ask a selfish question about the book process. And how did you write the book? How did you go about getting it published? What was that process like? And kind of, because that's something that I've thought about. I've been thinking about that, kind of like, I do want to write a book. I know what I want to write it about. I don't know the process after it's written, or even while it's written. I've heard some crazy stories about how hard it can be. I've heard stories about people just hitting the jackpot and having amazing opportunities kind of brought up to them. What was that process for you?
So first of all, I self-published.
Okay.
I did self-publish.
Awesome.
But the process of writing for me was as probably probably as grassroots as you can imagine. So what do we do? I went to Google and YouTube how to write a book.
Yeah.
And I looked at a bunch of different ideas and like looked at the fonts. I downloaded the Microsoft programs the newest Microsoft programs on my computer. Got all the fonts and stuff, figured that out. But the main thing that I did was I took about a good month, and I just on scratch sheet of paper I wrote down the most memorable times of my life that I could remember from the time that I was first born. And that's where I started. I had probably about 300 things written down when it was all over with. I would go back and see little spots where I needed to plug things in. I would do that, but then I would begin to condense these things. So once I condensed them, I began to put them in chapters. Once I got the chapters, I began to write the chapters. And I began to realize there were certain things that didn't fit here and there. I mean, it was actually not an easy process. It was a hard process. There were times when I could write the whole day, and there were times when I didn't write for a week. There were times I wake up in the middle of the night and write, but it was just a grassroots process. YouTube, Google, figure out how to do it. Once I got the book finished, I began to reach out to different publishing companies, hoping that I could get it published without having to self-publish. But unfortunately for me, that didn't happen. Hopefully on my next book, that'll be the case. But I had a lot of fun writing that book, and there was a lot of pride and gratitude that goes behind actually knowing that I actually sat down on my computer, wrote that book in my own words. Of course, had it edited, but pretty much I wrote a book.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you're saying just go write the book and put it out there.
We can talk more about that after this. If you like.
Awesome, man. Awesome. No, that's good advice. I like that. So I've started a new thing about how to kind of wrap up these conversations. And what I stand for is helping people stand for something. Really being able to figure out what their story is, what their skills are, helping them utilize those in a way that can bring impact, that they can monetize, but that they can really hang their hat up on is being able to understand what their personal thing is. You know, if you were to think about it right off your head or at the top of your head right now, and you might already know it, you might not, but what would you say that you stand for? If somebody asked what you stood for, what do you stand for and why? It doesn't have to be a cause. It doesn't have to be anything like that, but it's basically what is your skill, your give back, that thing that you want to be remembered for, that you know you bring value to.
For kindness and connection. I want to be remembered for kindness and connection because like I said, I mean, even before I came up with the slogan that I not come up with, but I jumped on the slogan of kindness is free. My slogan for years was patience and kindness because I felt like through patience and kindness, great things happen. And for me, it's been obvious. Through patience and kindness, I was able to get a basketball scholarship to a Division I school. Through patience and kindness, I was able to join the Harlem Globetrotters. Through patience and kindness, I was able to run around the world 3 times on CBS's The Amazing Race. So I stand for kindness and equality. Equality in the sense that growing up in a small town in Arkansas, there were things racially that I probably shouldn't have had to witness that I did, and I'm glad that I was able to witness those things because I'm able to see things in a different light and realize that certain things didn't have to be that way and shouldn't have been, and able to express those to others. But the equality part is that it doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, we're all the same. People always ask me about the famous people that I meet, and I always say, well, I mean, when I met him, he was breathing like me. He was, you know, his palms were sweaty. He was human. So at the end of the day, we have to realize that we're all people. We're all in this together. It's one world, one love. And like I said, from traveling the world so much, that's what it's all about to me. Kindness and equality.
Love that. Should be your next shirt. Awesome, man. No, I appreciate you coming on, Herb. It's been great kind of getting to hear your story a little bit more. Thank you for sharing some advice to everybody listening. Where can people find you, connect with you, social media, website, all the good stuff?
On pretty much every social media site that you could think of. On Twitter and Instagram, I am at DA Trotter, the number 4. That's at DA Trotter, like Globetrotter, except just Trotter, the number 4. That's Twitter and Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn, Herbert Flight Time Lang. I'm on Snapchat, I'm actually on TikTok now because my daughter got me on there, and the name of
Nice.
my screen name on there is my daughter got me here. But
Yes.
yeah, LinkedIn, I do a lot on LinkedIn, and really LinkedIn. I used to be on Facebook a lot until I realized that people that are actually doing business in the world,
Mhm.
um, transactions, not that Facebook advertisers not doing that, but LinkedIn is the way to go for business people. So
Yep.
Herbert Flight Time Lang on LinkedIn, Facebook business page, Herbert S. Lang. I'm everywhere.
Perfect. See him at the bottom of the screen.
HerbLang.com.
Awesome.
HerbLang.com too.
Yes. They're all at the bottom of the screen right here for you. Is there anything that you didn't get to say, that you didn't get to ask, that you didn't get to bring up, that we didn't get to?
Man, first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of your podcast. I know it's been a couple of years in the coming, but I just want to leave people with the words of, man, just continue to be patient and kind. Continue to realize that this right here, what's happening in our world right now, it's not about you, but you get to do your part. You get to do your part, and you get to come out on the other side saying that I did the right thing and I did my part in making sure that as many people live through this and survive this current situation, pandemic that we're in, uh, and let's just continue to live right, do the right thing, help each other out, support one another.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Guys, go give Herb a follow. Stay in touch with him. Is there any way that you'd rather have people contact you? Would that be DM through social media? Would that be a message on LinkedIn, an email?
DM, LinkedIn,
Awesome.
Facebook, either way, I'll respond.
Perfect, man. Awesome. I appreciate it. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yep. Thank you.